Hi, everybody. Welcome to the community feedback session. I'm Marina Martinez-Bateman, and I'm going to be presenting this data to you guys today. First, what we're going to do is get to our community agreements. So this is something that we've done before for events, and it's something that we do with our kids' classes all the time. When we're about to have a big discussion, we have community agreements, and so we decide how we're going to talk, how we're going to ask questions, basic just rules of engagement for this room. The mic feels a little bit hot. Can we turn it down a little bit, or is that me? Do I have to do that up here? I'm good? Okay. I'll just keep it. So our community agreements go like this. We're going to ask everybody to say things that make or would make them feel comfortable in this discussion right now, and we're going to write them on the whiteboard. And then, after we have a bunch of them written on the whiteboard, we're going to vote. Everybody in the room gets 3 votes. We'll point to the different ideas, and by show of hands, you're going to say that that's the one you vote for. You get to pick 3, and then the top 3, by vote, are going to be our 3 community rules for this discussion. So, let's start right now. Somebody give me something that makes them or would make them feel safe in this discussion. Kindness. Okay. How about another one? Yes, so no judgment. Or actually, let's write that positively. What's the positive version of non-judgmental? Supportive? Open? So I'll make them separate ones. All right, let's have another one. Accessible. And what would accessibility look like in this discussion? Captions. Yeah. We don't have those. But for the entire discussion, I will be making an attempt to speak clearly into the mic and not cover my mouth or look away while I'm talking. So that is my accessibility in terms of being heard and seen by everyone. All right, next. Okay, let's vote on these 5 potential rules. Everyone who thinks kindness is one of their 3 votes, or who would like kindness to be one of their 3 votes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Everyone who wants open discussion, open everything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay. Everyone who would like supportiveness throughout the presentation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Excellent. And everyone who would like us to keep accessibility in mind during this discussion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, I'm going to be the only speaker up here tonight. So I'll make accessibility my rule. And then all of us will agree to be supportive, open, and kind in our discussions throughout the night. Does everybody know the question process? One more time, the question process is that we're writing all of our questions down. We're doing this so that all of the questions are read in the same voice and in the order that they come in the presentation. Pass your question to the outside of the room. That's this side for you guys. That's that side for you guys. When you're done with it. If you want a new question paper, raise your hand, and our question volunteers on either side of the room will give you new paper. If you have a question that you've written down and you want our question volunteers to collect it, raise your question in the air, and they'll come along the outside and get it. All of us in the audience, it's our responsibility to pass the questions to the outside or pass blank questions to the inside as they're needed. So just keep aware of who's on your row and what they're saying to you. All right. Any questions or concerns as we're doing this right now? All right. I'm going to move this guy a little bit closer just to make sure that I can talk into it and be seen and heard. Does everybody have a clear view of me and of the screen and of the whiteboard? We're good? Cool. And I just realized that my phone is an integral part of this thing, and I left it in the front pocket of my purse in the annex. So, thanks. How we're doing this is that the paper questions in the room are getting passed to Daniela. She's going to sort them and then hand them to me. The digital questions that are coming through on Facebook, Twitter, and on the Google form that we posted on Friday morning for anyone who's remote who has questions, those are going to be sent to my phone, and I'll read them off the phone. My computer is displaying the PowerPoint. That's where all our data is going to be. We already did the community agreements. So now we're going to talk about the state of community media. This is Open Signal staff, volunteers, and producers at City Hall on February 14th. It was Producer Day in City Hall, and the mayor read a proclamation talking about how important community media and independent media is, not just to Portland, but to the world. And we all got to take a picture with the mayor and city council, which is really awesome. Some of you might even be in there. And right now, the state of community media in Portland is that we're doing amazing. Open Signal is, as you can see from the graph, we did 3 times more engagement than we did last year. So we engaged with 1,878 people in 2016. We engaged with 3,366 people in 2017. So that's the track we're on. We're doing really, really well. All of our producers, all of our staff have worked together to make this the best year for Open Signal ever. Here we have on the other side, there is Open School North Science teacher Carlos Lancet, Executive Director Justin Harn, and Director of Strategy and Development Rebecca Burrell, presenting to the mayor and City Council on Producer Day our annual report, which, by the way, is also in the back of our catalogs. So if you want to read the whole annual report, just look at the back of our catalogs. That's everything that we've done for for fiscal year 16-17, which ended June 30th. So, even as we're doing really well here in Portland at Open Signal, community media nationally is not performing as well as we are. Not only is our main funding source, the cable companies, coming against a lot of competition from digital sources like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Marketplace, just not as many people are buying cable anymore. And to be completely transparent, that has not affected us so far, but it's just a trend that we want to watch and be mindful of. The cable companies, as a result of this squeeze, have gone after community media centers, which they view as being an unwanted expense. You can just hand it to me. Thank you. Yusuf, our marketing manager, everyone. Okay, now I can get my questions. Yay. The cable companies view community media as an expense on their bottom line, and so they have negotiated in several cities and states, including the city of Los Angeles and the entire state of New Jersey, to defund cable channels like ours, community media centers like ours. And as a result, the majority of the community media centers in Los Angeles and New Jersey have closed. They do not exist anymore. So that's what's going on. We did some research about fundraising at other community media centers. We looked at 22 different stations across America, from Portland, Maine to Portland, Portland. And we discovered that out of 22 different stations we could find data for, 77% of those had a membership fee. That's an annual fee that every user must pay in order to participate with the media center. Those fees were as little as $10 a year and as much as $1,750 a year. Pardon me, I'm going to turn the sound off on my phone. Sorry. And the 2018 federal budget, that's nationally, is estimated to have a $1.2 trillion gap. That means that the federal budget, as it stands right now, which is not completed, has an overspend of $1.2 trillion that states and cities and counties are going to have to make up the difference for. A lot of our cities, counties, and states are going to get less money back from the federal government. And that means that historically, in the past, when states and cities get less money back from the federal government, they go after arts organizations and they go after nonprofits, which Portland Community Media is and has historically been both of those. Every single year, for at least the past 10 years, the city has asked OpenSignal and Portland Community Media to take a budget cut. Last year, thanks to our producers and swift action on their part, was the very first year that we ever fought that budget cut and won. So that was all you guys last year. The city is not a good bet for your sole funding source. It's just not good business to be 100% funded by one source. Anything could happen. So it's been decided by Portland Community Media that we are going to seek alternate funding. We've already raised more than $300,000 in grants in the last year. And we are soliciting corporations for their donations as well. We're also going to have an individual giving program. That means that we'll be asking our community to support this valuable resource. That means that you guys as producers will be asked to support us, but that also means that the neighborhood will be asked to support us. The city will be asked to support us. Regionally, we'll be asking for support. So it's not only producers we'll be looking for, but that is one of the places that we'll be looking for funding. Now it's time for Q&A. So I'm going to queue up my questions. It looks like I don't have any digitally. Do we have any paper questions for this section? One. And I'm expecting there to be more questions as the night goes on. The end of this presentation is going to be far more question heavy than the beginning. So the question is, how many states now have community media? And the answer to that is, I don't know. Staff people of OpenSignal, does anybody know the answer to that question that are here? So that is, I'll get back to you on that. So I don't know. I'm going to look it up and do some research. And we'll post the answers on the website. And then the next question is, how many are not Comcast? And that's also, I don't know the answer to that. And I don't know, unless I can figure out, yes, Chris?
Depends on the state and the community. Like some of the cities and towns have both Comcast and Verizon. Some have exclusive contracts where it's only one or the other.
Oh, yeah.
States have things like CenturyLink or other types that are more local.
So for everybody else that couldn't hear Chris, the answer is some communities have Comcast exclusively. Some communities have Verizon exclusively. Those are things that the cable companies have negotiated with the cities that they serve. It really depends on locality to locality. Sometimes and some have both. We have both here. Oh no, we don't have Verizon here.
No, we don't have Verizon.
Yeah.
CenturyLink and
We have CenturyLink and Comcast. So, that's the answer to that. Yes, good. Thanks. What is the projected financial shortfall for community media? That is an interesting question because right now we don't have a projected shortfall. If we keep operating the way we're operating, our shortfall would come in the form of a cable company decision or a cable company influenced decision, like in other locations where the cable company has defunded the community media organization. And then if that eventuality happened, likely what we would be doing is scrambling to make up for the shortfall. So we would not be prepared if we waited until there is a shortfall. The other place a shortfall could come from, like I said, is the city. As the federal budget tightens, the city budget is also going to tighten. And so if we were unprepared for that, if we didn't have a funding stream, like an individual giving funding stream set up, again, we could be in a situation where suddenly there is a shortfall, and then we are not prepared for it. So currently, OpenSignal has no shortfall. But it's not time to rest on our laurels, is the answer to that question. Next. What are your standards for accepting corporate money and maintaining independence for producers? How much will you accept from Nike, Intel, or Monsanto? Very good questions. We founded a development committee last January, and I was hired on July 31st was my first day here. The development committee is going to be something that Rebecca and I work on. The very first item that the development committee is going to look at is going to be our fundraising philosophy. A fundraising philosophy is, in short, do we take money from Nike? Do we take money from Intel? Why do we take money from those companies? What is what's the standard there? Oh, looks like my thing went forward. Anyway, what's the standard there? What is it that we want to preserve? What is it that we will refuse to support? That kind of stuff. So the true, honest answer right now is we don't know. We're going to figure it out with the help of the development committee and with the help of our staff. I can tell you from research that BAVAC, which is our sister station in San Francisco, they're right there adjacent to the Silicon Valley. And they do take money from certain large tech companies. and they have ironclad contracts. All that money goes to career development. They gave a talk. One of their the staff person who is responsible for corporate giving gave a talk. I think it was last year. It was very fascinating about having contracts with larger corporations. And I had a call with him a couple of months ago to talk about his process there. And it is not something that anyone takes into account lightly. We're independent. We want to stay independent. That's our whole purpose. So I can definitely say that the mission is primary. That's why we're doing this. That's why we're going into fundraising, is because without the funds to carry out the mission, we're in trouble. So, next question. So this question is on our budget. What is the ratio of budget funding between operations and management to studios/equipment? That's again a hard question. And I don't know the absolute answer to it. Yeah, Justin? Okay, we're doing some math. The money that funds the equipment is restricted to the equipment. And for example, not the studio, correct? Mm-hmm. We received $950,000. Let's make use of the whiteboard. So, thank you. All right. So currently our budget we get $950,000 from the city. And that's our staff. That's everything. So, okay. And then how much do we get for our capital fund? That's just equipment, right? So, we get $900,000 for equipment, and equipment is only equipment. It is the cameras, it is the laptops. No. Yes, okay. Cool. So, that is the breakdown. Basically, we have $900,000 for equipment and $950,000 for staff and building maintenance. And that's everything. That's the roof. That's the electrical bill. That's the chairs that we're sitting on. That's the people that are working at this building. Cool. So that's the breakdown of what we get from our current primary funders. Sorry. All right. Next question. This question is the last section, so I'm going to put that there. It's about asking producers to donate. So that goes here. All right. Any more questions? No? Yes. Yeah. Besides the community engagement statistics, what other data do you tout in fundraising? You mean what data do I follow? What data do I find important? Cool. That would be, the sources that I've been looking at right now are, there's a report from it's an organization of people of color in philanthropy on giving from people of color, communities of color historically in the larger industry of philanthropy, which philanthropy is two universes. And by philanthropy, I mean like donating to stuff, being charitable. There's the universe that is has a lot more funding and is a lot more in line with dominant culture. That's very wealthy company owners buying buildings for universities, that kind of stuff. And then there is the historic cultural tradition of giving that we find in communities of color that is about investment in community. It's about uplifting each other. It's about quietly and constantly taking care of your friends, your family, your community over your lifetime. That that giving style, for lack of a better word, has been historically ignored by sort of academic, capital P philanthropy. Any kind of report, any kind of document or study or research that had to do with the long and deep and meaningful tradition of giving amongst marginalized communities, that went straight to the top of my reading list. So that was the 2014 report on giving among communities of color that I read backwards and forwards a bunch of times. Other research and community engagement statistics I was looking at was actually a multi-year study in the journal for, I think I'm going to get this name wrong, but it's the Journal for Jewish Life. And it was a study of synagogues that had gone to pay what you can membership fees, which actually not only increased their membership dollars, but increased frequently for many of the synagogues that went through this change, increased the level of community that people felt in the synagogue, increased the level of happiness that congregants felt about their community. So that was an initial study in, I'm not entirely sure, maybe 2008 or something, that was talking to people who were switching over to that method. And then there was another follow-up 5 years later of the people who had decided to switch and what that felt like 5 years in. So those were the two things that really got me onto this path. Other things that I've been reading, there's a journal for grassroots fundraising. That's what our fundraising program would be classified as, grassroots fundraising. It's getting small amounts of money from a lot of people and being very involved in those people. So this thing right now, where we're presenting survey data that I took in December and November. That would be a grassroots fundraising move. Taking the survey data in the first place is a grassroots fundraising move. So those were sort of my primary sources, talking about people power, talking about fundraising that centers people who are living in marginalization. So women, people of color, indigenous people, queer people, etc. So those are all my sources. And then what data do you most wish to see improve? Oh man, that's a data question. I want to present the data before I answer that question. So let's go this one. I'm going to move on to the statistical analysis. In November and December, I spent 30 non-consecutive hours in the lobby interviewing people who walked into Open Signal. I asked them about 12 questions. None of the questions were mandatory. We had 64 separate respondents, and they gave me, I typed out the questions. The majority of the questions were open-ended. You could answer small or long, whatever. They gave me 29,000 words worth of data. So that was a lot of data, and we were fortunate enough to have in our community a social worker with a master's in social work with a focus on institutional justice. Her name is Malia Miller, and she's amazing. And she stepped in, and she helped us analyze the data, and she sent me back a non-biased report of the data that we found. That means that she looked at it from her view, not as a staff person, not as a fundraiser, and she reported to me what she found. The primary conclusions that we reached are that producers use Open Signal for skill building and professional development, and that you all want more opportunities to do that. Also, producers want a diverse, knowledgeable, and welcoming community. And that producers want to feel inside without leaving anybody out. So one of the things that I heard in the survey data was, I want to go somewhere and I want to say, I'm from Open Signal, and I want that to mean something to people. I want them to say, oh, Open Signal. That was a lot. People had that feeling a lot. But they also said, I don't want a program that makes it so that people can't afford to come here. I don't want a program that makes it so that people feel uncomfortable being here. I want a program that everybody can be in. So my first question to every respondent was, what are your goals at Open Signal? The vast majority of people, 65%, said that their goals were professional and artistic development. Way after that, about 17% said that they want to empower and support others. About 15% said that they were here to do work. That could be people who are producers who also work on staff. That was also our security guard at the time, and a woman who was helping to install acoustic paneling in the lobby. So I asked anybody that was in the lobby, I wanted the physical connection to the space to be the driver of the survey, because I wanted people who were coming here to be in the answer pool. About 10% of people wanted or come here for community building. The same amount come for social justice or activism work, and the same amount come for skill sharing or knowledge sharing. About 5% came for community outreach. And many of the respondents to the survey had multiple answers to this question. So the same respondent could have said professional development and activism, etc. I asked people, what more could we do to help you with your goals? And as you can imagine, I got a lot of answers. The representation on this board, the smallest answers, unfortunately, are hard to read, but those are the answers that only one person gave. but they're still recorded, they're still in our data, and they're still very important. But the largest thing that people wanted from us was improvements on classes. And when I say improvements, I don't mean improvements on the quality of the classes that already exist. That was not on the list. Improvements are making it easier for people who travel a lot to attend classes. For example, maybe having a long one-day class instead of 3 sessions once in a while. Having online classes for courses that we could potentially put online. Having things like FM loops in the classrooms for people who are hard of hearing. An FM loop is a fairly affordable piece of technology that I learned about as a result of this process that you can broadcast to a hearing aid. So that's something that we could do. Having classes be more accessible in terms of financial aid. That was the next option on the list. People want more access to scholarships, easier access to scholarships. And one of the things that this survey revealed to us is that we are not promoting our scholarships enough. Some people didn't know that you can get one scholarship every year and that you can take 3 different classes on one scholarship. Some people didn't know that we had scholarships at all. So that's important. The other things that people wanted are things like technical support, that's help with running their shows, better communication and follow through from the staff. For example, if we say we're going to do something, we should do it. Or if we say we're going to do something, we should say exactly why we're having trouble doing it. More volunteer opportunities. People wanted more opportunities to work together, to make stuff together. More staff interest and participation in programs or in projects. They also wanted us to help promote community members' shows, to help get people's work out there. They wanted us to continue being free, and they wanted more community outreach to communities in East Portland, more outreach to communities of color, more outreach to queer, intersex, transgender community. We also, as community members, asked for better equipment tracking. How are people using the cameras? What's being made with them? How many people are working on a project? What are those people doing on the project? All that kind of stuff. Youth scholarships, more specific scholarships for youth. Wanted extended hours of operation, wanted more opportunities for equipment sharing, and to be more physically comfortable in our space. So that is more community areas for hanging out, for talking, for sitting on the couches, more comfortable couches, those kinds of things. And improvements to Studio A were asked for. Specifically, people mentioned the floors, which were horrible. Which, by the way, when we closed for winter, we repainted the floors in Studio A and the green screen wall, which is covered by a curtain right now, but that got repainted too. We also rearranged the seating in the outside, hopefully for more conversation pit style seating going on. And during our closure, all of the front desk staff took a Studio A producer class. So, and then also every piece of equipment got a quick guide so that people have quick guides on how, so that staff people have quick guides on how to use the equipment that we're giving to people. So those are some things that have already happened based on your feedback. And then the main question, or the big question for me, was, would you pay for OpenSignal if it increased access to other people? And I asked that question in that way because our mission is to give people the tools and the access that they need to tell their stories and to get on air. That's what we're for. So when we solicit for donations, when we get money for people, that's what we're going to do with it. So when we get donations from our community, we're increasing access. That's our job. The graph is a little bit, they conveniently like sort of laid it out so you can see the nuance, which is nice because we don't have that much space. But the graph is a little bit off. As you can see, it stops at 40%. So about 36% of people said yes. Unequivocally, yes. About 13% of people said no, full stop. The rest of the answers are frequently yes with a caveat. So the one under yes is, I would, but I can't afford to. The one under no is, I would give you a donation, but I wouldn't pay a fee. The one under that is, it depends on the cost. The one under that is, there are other ways to fundraise. The one under that is, I would give you money, but I would need to know how you're spending it. I want you to be transparent. The other one is, the fee would decrease access. If you had a fee, it would decrease access to this place. Under that is, yes, but if I could pay for my membership with volunteer hours. Some people already donate. They're already donors in some way, shape, or form. Some people said yes as long as there was a sliding scale. Some people were concerned about providing proof of inability to pay for a scholarship or a fee waiver situation. Some people felt like our current funds were not being used in a way that felt reflective of their values, and so whether or not they would pay was actually kind of unclear for those answers. And then one person said, implementing a fee would make some people very unhappy. And I think that more people than one think that. So it's very important that we honor that answer. So what we've been doing with the data analysis I took in December is that as of February 2018, which is this month, the Producers Circle meetings have been restructured to focus on producers and projects that producers are making. So we changed the agenda. We've also had several staff commit to showing up to producers meetings to be there and support producers and have answers ready and talking about just how we can use the resources we already have, the Producer Circle, to maximize benefits for producers. Our telethon, which is going to be in May 2018, is not a telethon anymore. We heard that people want to collaborate on things. They want to work together. They want to build something together, and they want opportunities to meet other volunteers and other producers so that they can make projects together. So we are doing a producer appreciation party and a make-a-thon to build something together. So that's been changed. Our new reservation system went in January. It will make check-in and check-out easier. If you have been checking things out January and February, you may have noticed that there's a little bit of bumps. There's a little bit of switching to the new system. That's going to happen whenever we switch a system. But now we will have reservations connected to your community account. So you get credit for the things you check out and the work you do. We're seeing what people are doing here more and more clearly. We're also tracking equipment usage so that staff can know and buy the most popular equipment. One of the other things that people said in the survey was that if they have a camera that's popular that they want to use, sometimes it's hard to check it out or hard to have reliable checkouts for that camera all the time. Now that we have this system, we can say, look, the FS7s are getting used way more than the Canon C100s. We're going to take some of the budget and buy more FS7s, and the Canon C100s is a good number of cameras. Something like that. So that'll be more informed buying from our staff so that you guys have the equipment you need when you need it. And most importantly, this new reservations section, or this new reservations program, is the first step in a multi-step process that will result in you guys being able to do online reservations. So that's something a lot of people have been asking for a long time. Switching to this new system is the beginning of that. All right. I'm going to lead off with this question that I got in the last section. What data do you most wish to see improve? And I think for me, it would be I don't know. I want first of all, I want the suggestions for improvement. I want that the biggest answer. I want the largest answer. I don't want it to be no suggestion. It's nice when I say, what can we do better? And everybody says, oh, you're doing so great already. That's cool. But I want people to trust us enough and also to be involved enough in what's going on from in a back, not in a backroom way, but like I want people to know what we're doing. I want people to know how hard we're working and what we're putting forward. And so when I say in a survey, what more can we do to help you with your goals? I want people to have ideas. I want to say, you know, I want this and I want this and I want specific granular answers about how we can do more to serve this community. Other data that I would like to see improve is I wish that we had a larger line on yes. I wish that it was more than 35% of people, but I understand why it's not. And I think that really what I would want to change is I think I would want to change this answer. Current funds aren't being used in the ways they should be. I think that not everything we do is going to please all the people all the time. We served more than 3,000 people last year. Not every single one of those people is going to be in lockstep agreement with them about what's going on at OpenSignal. But I really want people to know that everything we're doing here as staff, we're doing to increase access to the airwaves. We're doing to amplify people's voices. So I would want that answer to say maybe that current funds, I don't understand what current funds are doing or something like that. I don't know. That's my answer, how I would want to change the data. And then what data, cable TV audience, are most concerning? Well, the thing is, we actually don't know much about our cable TV audience. Comcast very kindly provides their advertisers with data, demographic data on who they're reaching when they're broadcasting on Comcast. And that is something that they'd offer to do for us, for about $900,000. So we don't know necessarily who is watching at home, which is actually another thing that we've heard people talk about and that we are working on is VOD, video on demand. When people are watching VOD through our online portal, we will actually have demographic data on them. We will know who that audience is. And that's really exciting. And that's one of the ways that we can amplify our voices through OpenSignal. Let's see. Next questions? Who makes spending decisions, i.e. the new chairs that we don't like or need? So a lot of us make a lot of different spending decisions. Department heads make spending decisions for their departments. I'm not entirely sure. Oh, I am sure who ordered the chairs. I have to confess, I love the black plastic chair. It's my favorite chair in this entire building. It's sturdy, but it's lightweight. And so I think that the chair situation is one example of how there are so many of us and we all have so many different priorities in our lives. And not everybody is going to love the new chair. That's true. I actually, when I came in here for my interview, I was like, these chairs are great. Where did you get them? I'm not even joking. So it was a revelation to me to find that not everybody loved the chair. But that's one of the things I'll talk about more when I talk about our fundraising plan. In the survey data, it's definitely coming through that producers do not have the same voice they used to at Portland Community Media. And that is not something that we want to continue doing. We want to know what everybody feels about the chairs. We want to know how everybody feels about the tables. We want to know what everybody wants to do next. That's something that we want. You guys are the reason we're here. Making sure that your voices are heard and amplified are the reason we exist. If we're not hearing you, that's an issue that we're going to address. That's a real and true issue. And it's not just about the chairs. It's about being heard, and it's about respect, and it's about community engagement, and it's about who we are as an organization and who we want to be going forward. So that's the answer about the chairs. More questions? No? Digital questions? Oh, we got a question. Organizational. Okay. Has OpenSignal hired a professional to do an organizational audit or use an organizational capacity assisted tool? I think no, we have not. And an organizational capacity assisted tool, assisted tool. Oh, assessment. Have you used an organizational capacity assessment tool? No? Justin?
The question is not about a financial audit. It's about an organizational audit. So in those terms, the audit is how is your organization functioning? Is it working? What's working? What's not working to make your organization more efficient? And I work with a couple of professionals that do that for NGOs across the world, and it's a really powerful tool. So just to get that on the mic, Justin said that we report every 6 months to MHCRC. That's the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission. That is the governing body that is in charge of stations like ours here in this region. Every 6 months, we give the MHCRC a detailed report of how many people come through the door, how many classes we give, how many scholarships we give out, just all of the numbers that we have available, basically. And then we have a financial audit annually. We voluntarily submit to an annual financial audit where people from outside come in and look at all our books. But the question was actually about organizational audits, like I'm trying to think of a word that like structure. Yeah. So looking at our structure, looking at how our organization works, our processes, our policies, that kind of stuff. So the answer is basically no, we do not do that. And maybe we just don't do it yet.
Yeah. And so what Justin said, for everybody who couldn't hear him on the mic, he said that OpenSignal has only existed a year. That's true. We launched January 2017. So as an organization, we have a year's worth of data on how we operate. Portland Community Media and Portland Cable Access were founded back in the 80s, but we are a new organization. We have a new structure, and we want transparency. We want people to come in and see how we're doing what we do. We want to know if it's the most efficient way. We want to know if it works and if it doesn't. Justin?
Marina, actually, something through this process that's so helpful. We can absolutely share our activity report with you guys as well. That's something that we haven't done in the past. That's something we usually do just to give everyone access of just everything of the last year, basically.
Yeah.
Super, super thorough, and you can demonstrate from period to period the success that we're seeing, the increased number of people that we're serving, the additional equipment that we're purchasing and making available to folks, improvements to the facility, and just overall the work that's taking place behind the numbers that you guys are publishing.
Yeah. And so what Justin said is that one of the things that we can do right now is we can take our activity report that we literally just sent to the MICRC. We sent one like last week, right? We can take that activity report and we can put it online. And everybody can see the numbers, everybody can see the engagement, everybody can see what's up with us. So that sounds like a great idea. All right. Questions? No? Online questions? Cool. And this one is belonging to this next section, our fundraising plan. So this is the plan that we've come up with. And a little bit about me, I came into professional work working for a union in LA. That's where I'm from. That's where my roots are. I was doing union communications. And then I started my own marketing firm working with small businesses and nonprofits. And then after that, I ended up organizing businesses in Portland to advocate for themselves and to work together to increase their financial stability. So, in short, most of my professional history is with membership organizations. That was on my resume when I applied here. That's how I think about a lot of things. I love membership. When it's done right, I feel like it's the perfect combination of staff and population. I feel like membership is amazing. And so when I first got here, I came in with the idea of a membership plan. And we actually had a meeting with about 13 community leaders, and we showed them this plan. And I was so excited. It was going to be the perfect plan, and I was just going to blow everybody out of the water. And one of our community leaders said, "Why are you showing me this? Why are you showing me this plan if you're just going to do it anyway?" And I thought that that was a very valid criticism of someone, me, who is not from Portland, who was not a producer until I started working here, and who didn't know the community. And so that's why I put all that away, and I went and sat in the lobby and asked you guys questions about your goals for 30 hours. And that is why we've come up with this plan. Our mission here at OpenSignal is to empower our community to make effective use of media for creative expression, cultural exchange, and civic participation. That's our entire mission. That's what we do. And the goals of this fundraising plan are going to be to build a strong community. In the data, in the feedback, people wanted strong community. People wanted to feel a part of this movement. And that's what we're going to invest in. We also want to raise money for operating costs. Like those other stations who have been defunded by the cable company, like other arts organizations who have faced budget cuts at the city level and not been able to bounce back from them, we don't want to be caught unaware. We don't want to be unprepared if something like that happens. And we also know that you guys want to do a lot. You guys want to do more. You guys want more opportunities, and we want to give them to you. And we need money to do that. We also want to empower all media makers in Portland. We have a partnership with Outside the Frame that works with homeless youth to make documentaries. We have partnerships with Lentz Youth Initiative, POW Girls, Open School North. We want every single person in Portland who wants to make media with us. And we don't want any barriers. For anyone who wouldn't be able to access this technology, this equipment, this education without money, we want to knock down that barrier. We want everyone to come in here and be able to experience and gain the knowledge that they need to express themselves in whatever way they want. We also want to amplify community voices in OpenSignal and beyond. We know that you guys are making a ton of cool stuff. We had 945 new shows produced last fiscal year. That's 945 amazing ideas that are important, that are valuable, that are primary, and need to be promoted and need to be shown and need to be seen and talked about. We want to create opportunities for professional and artistic development. Whether you come here to make media that you keep for yourself or you share with your family or your community, whether you come here to make media that needs to have a national stage, that needs to have an international stage, we want to be here to make that experience the best for you. And so that means more skill building. That means more skill sharing. That means more opportunities to work together on projects. That means more opportunities to recruit volunteers for your projects. More opportunities to volunteer on fun and interesting projects that you wouldn't have known about. So that's one of the things we're working on. We also want to outreach to and empower existing leadership in our community. OpenSignal may only be a year old, but our history as a media-making community is more than 30 years old. And we have people who have been leaders in this movement, activists in this movement for decades that we need to reach out to empower, to involve in our step forward. We're new, but not every media maker is new to making media. Not every media maker is new to working with the city, to being an activist, to being a community outreach person. It's very important that we acknowledge our history that we have to draw on in this room and in this building. So, our plan is a membership plan. We're going to preserve funding, we're going to increase services, and we're going to provide a path to careers through professional development and continue to build strong community by providing access to media makers from marginalized communities. So one of the things that happens on the city level is arts organizations and nonprofits get budget cuts. Who doesn't get budget cuts is workforce developers. Workforce developers never get budget cuts. And if we're a workforce developer, we may be able to preserve some budget in the future. We may have a different argument other than, the arts are important, guys. If we can say, hey, look at how many careers we have launched, look at how many workers believe in us, then we can go to other places and get more funding. We can go to the city and get more funding, things like that. Our membership program is going to cost just $1 a year. That's it. Give us $1 and you are a full member. You have access to everything. There is absolutely no tiers. There's no gimmicks. There's no levels. There's no silver stars or gold stars or president's clubs. None of that. If somebody gives us $10,000, that's nice. If somebody gives us $1, that's nice. You get the same treatment. You're the same in the community. We are going to use our membership numbers. By having this $1 membership, we will have many more members than a lot of member organizations. We're going to use our numbers. For example, our goal for 2020 is to have 2,500 members in order to find funding from other sources. So we'll go to grantors and we'll say, hi, grantor, we have 200 or 2,500 people that believe in us, that invest in us. You should invest in us too. We'll go to local organizations that have money to give us, that's maybe businesses, that's other organizations, and say, we have 2,500 people that come here that believe in us, and you should believe in us too. We're also going to use the membership structure to amplify community voices and ensure that staff and members work together for our common goals. The thing about having a membership is that as a membership, you are an advocacy group. as a membership, you can go to your organization and request more transparency. There are more avenues to working together for staff and members than there are for staff and community or service population. The potential benefits of the membership program are as yet unknown. Without a membership, we don't know what the membership wants. The membership drives the program. But based on survey data, these are the things that we have in mind right now. Donated memberships for those who can't pay, no questions, no paperwork. Like a lot of museums have a little box you can drop dollars in when you go in. We're going to have a box at the front desk. If someone says, I cannot afford this membership, we take $1 out of the box, we pay for the membership, that's it. It doesn't show on your account that that's what happened. You are a member as good as anybody else is a member. There's absolutely no paper trail for that. There's no questions asked. Nothing. Just, if you can't afford to pay the membership, that's cool, we got you. And if you have an extra $1 and would like to pay for somebody else's membership, we have this box that you can drop your $1 into. Help somebody else out. We will do membership in exchange for volunteer time. So anybody who is a volunteer for 2 hours, you are a member. We will have members-only pricing structure for classes. Or maybe we might have members-only pricing structure for classes. Members-only classes and lectures. A lot of people wanted different kinds of classes, different kinds of opportunities to grow their skills. So having that as a part of the membership program. This is a skill share, or this is a hackathon, or this is a lecture. We don't know what the membership would want. So members-only or members networking events. Being able to work together, being able to find out, what are you working on? Is that cool? I want to work on it. Or my thing's really cool. Do you want to work on it? And then member screenings. During the survey data, people asked for member screenings a lot. Where can I show my stuff? And we do have producers that show stuff here. Now we're going to have, if we have membership, when we have membership, it will be a more formal thing. People can use this space for their screenings. And then the question at the end of it was, what benefits would you want? What member benefits would you want to see in this program? And this question is about membership. I got it earlier. So, when you say producers are being asked to donate, A, do you mean that it will be compulsory? Yes. In order to use this space, you must be a member. However, membership is $1 a year. And if you say, I don't have $1, membership is free. If you want to volunteer for 2 hours, membership is a part of that as well. So, yes, membership will be compulsory. Will you have to pay? Not if you can't pay, no. We're not here to stop anybody from having access to this. We're here to increase access. That's the point. That's why it's only $1, and that's why we're going to have that process where anyone who says they can't pay, that $1 comes out of the bucket, and they're a member, free and clear, just as much as anybody else. There is no point to decreasing access to this space when access is our mission. That's not at all helpful. The membership is to increase access, not just for everybody here, but for everybody who might be here, for anybody who doesn't know about this place yet, for anybody who wants to learn about it. In order to increase access and preserve access for the years to come, we do need this funding stream. We need to make it happen. And this is the way that we found that does the least damage to our existing population. And then B, will we be members of the organization who can vote on the board of directors? The answer to that is no. We have not seen in the research that voting memberships have a better experience of their organizations. But we have seen that highly engaged memberships, where staff is coming to member meetings, where staff is holding presentations like this, that is where that the experience turns and it's a very good member experience. As long as staff is invested in the member experience, that's when the member experience is good. So that's the answer to that. More questions? I'm assuming. So, sorry about that. The question is, would a team of grant writers raise more revenue going forward? Who knows? Maybe. That's potentially true. Maybe a team of grant writers, if we took, if we got rid of me, well, actually, that would be problematic. But somehow I turned into 3 grant writers. Could we raise more money, potentially? Yeah, we could. And then we would be bound to the funders to do what they want us to do. Every organization, especially arts organizations that gives grant money out, they have their own goals. They have their own people that they need to work with. And so when you ask them for money, they'll say, yeah, as long as you spend it on ducks, as long as you spend it on this. So what happens is this situation where you're changing your programming all the time to do what the funder wants. And that's the same problem when you have a very small population of very wealthy donors giving a large amount of money to an organization. You change what you do to do what the funder wants. All of a sudden, your programming starts to look a lot different than what it looked like when you were a community-driven organization. So, would a team of grant writers make more money? Maybe. Would we like the results of that? I don't think so. I honestly don't think so. I could be wrong. So, if this doesn't work out, I'll be replaced by a team of grant writers. So, this plan is exactly what was proposed before the survey. What about recording donation from people and how it appears, how it affects status in filing? What about embarrassing those who can't pay? So let's break that down. This plan is exactly what was proposed before the survey. The fact that it's $1, yes, that's exactly the same thing. I've been working in membership organizations for 15 years about. That's what I know. It's the structure I believe is the best structure. And based on my instincts, my previous research, my education, and my professional experience, when I got here, I said, we should have $1 membership. That's the only way to preserve access, is to make it $1. And then I did a bunch of research on the community to learn different ways of having that $1. Is the $1 mandatory? That's a good question. Does the $1, can you substitute the $1 or the payment with volunteer hours? That's a good question. What's that money get you when you invest in this organization? What do you get back? That's a good question. Those were all questions that were completely unanswered when I showed up and said, oh, well, $1 membership's the only way to preserve access. That's a fact that I know from my experience and my education. But that didn't have anything to do with this community. It was completely divorced from who you guys are and what you guys want. It was technical knowledge. It wasn't wisdom. Not that I have it now, but I have a lot more knowledge about who you guys are and what benefits you guys the most. So, yeah, the $1 hasn't changed, but a lot else about the $1 has changed, about the program, about the way that we're implementing it, about the way that we're doing this has changed. This whole thing is because of you guys, because of what you guys asked for, transparency, communication, to be a part of this thing, to be involved. So, yeah, the $1's the same, but a lot else is different. What about recording donation from people and how it affects their status in filing. So like I said before, if somebody gives us $500,000, they're a member. If somebody gives us $1, they're a member. If somebody walks in and says, I don't have $1, they're a member. You're a member. If you gave us $500,000, it's very nice. Come to Producer Circle, tell us what you're working on, get some volunteers together, come work on other people's projects. That's what we want. The dollar is to make someone a member versus not being a member. It's a totally binary system. You're a member, and you get membership privileges and benefits. You're not a member, and you don't. And if you want to be a member, it's $1. And if you don't have $1, that's cool. That's the status. We're not recording in community what amount of money. What we are recording in community is how many shows you work on. What we're getting from that is what kind of equipment you like to check out. Are you volunteer on projects? Were you at our block party? That's what we care about. That's what we want, is commitment to community. Are you here for us? Are you here for the rest of the community? Are you making stuff together? That's what's important. And then, what about embarrassing those who can't pay? The bucket's there. If someone says, I can't pay, and we reach in the bucket and pay for it, that's the process. We're not going to say, oh, why can't you pay? Or, oh, it's just $1. That's not the process. So, if it turns out that that process is embarrassing, or if that process is not right, we'll change the process. When I was hired to implement this fundraising program, it became apparent really quickly that the process I was going by, which I had developed working at nonprofits where time was more important than people, it was really clear that that process was not working. And so we changed the process. So if the process doesn't work, we'll change it. And we'll hear about the fact that the process doesn't work in the producer circle meeting, in the networking event, at other stuff. We're going to be there. As members, we'll have a more close relationship. Okay, next question. What would be a pipeline for workforce development to paid positions? That is an amazing question. And I don't know the answer. One of the answers is that I know that there are plans going on. I know that we're looking at how we can use what we currently have in order to turn more people into media makers with experience that's relevant for their future, for their goals. Justin, do you have?
How can they hear you? Oh, she can repeat. Oh.
Or you could come out and grab the mic. You're good? Okay. How are we doing workforce development? Yeah, so the answer is that we actually just got, I think it was last week again, we move really fast, but we just got a grant to do incubators for filmmakers. So we have people coming in that are going to be doing professional filmmaking work here at Open Signal, and then we're also providing paths for people to work in our production services department. Production Services Department of Open Signal goes out and records community events from parades to concerts to city meetings and broadcasts them on our channels. So we want producers to be able to work in that department if they want to. We want to be able to have that department be a place where people can build skills to take somewhere else and get family wage jobs, to get higher paid jobs and positions.
Could you just clarify the word incubators, how you're using that?
Oh, the word incubator. How are we using that?
Sure. It's a team of the model that we're looking at currently under receive funding was a team of emerging to mid-career artists that would be facilitated by a team of mentors. So folks would go through a full production process from pre-production, production to post, and then also talk about distribution.
So what he said is that we're looking at taking emerging, that's people at the beginning of their career, to mid-career, so that's people with a little bit of experience, and hooking them up with a mentor program. And they're going from pre-production all the way through full production to post-production to distribution with their project. So that's our incubation program right now. And then the next question is, oh, I already answered that question. More questions? The next question is, will we ever be able to measure our viewership as a means of attracting advertisers to raise revenue? And the answer that I know of is, as far as the cable air broadcast is concerned, likely not. But with VOD, video on demand, with being able to host streaming through our web portal, where people will be watching your shows on our website, that we can do, that we could do. The VOD process is extremely long, and we have a lot of data, a lot of video. One of the things that we have to do before we even do VOD is go back through our data and ask the producers whether or not they want their content broadcast on VOD. When you make stuff with Open Signal, it belongs to you. So we don't have the authority to just put it online. So that's a big, long process. We're looking at a relationship with archive.org. Archive.org stores video on the long term. Once you put something on archive.org, it's there for the common consumption. People can't, sell it or make money off of it, but that's a platform that would save us a lot of time and money in terms of hosting the video. So that's where we are in the VOD process. But yeah, that's the answer to getting advertisers. But we also know that in terms of the cable companies that fund us and broadcast us distribute to 400,000 homes in Portland. So those are numbers we can use. And something that we could potentially look at if we could make money off of it. I'm not sure what the market would be. Suggestion. School presentations to inform youth of the classes available to them. Media school centers could give extra credit to students who volunteer here. That's a great suggestion. That's amazing. I know we do have some volunteer interns. We get them through ERCO. So sometimes when you come to the front desk and you see a young person, that may be one of our amazing interns. But yeah, we can make that bigger. Chris?
That's also, in terms of the interns that we get, it's specifically for work experience and for
Yeah, the interns that we get are from a program that provides work experience to marginalized groups. And our interns are paid, yes? And our interns are paid, which is, by the program that they come through, which is amazing. So why don't we market ourselves as community therapy or community policing to keep crime down when competing with the city for police funding? That would be amazing. I'll be on that committee. I'm there for that. Let's go. So, more questions? Online questions? All right. This is the last round for questions. We have some. We have one. You can just hand it to me over here. So this, I think, is a great time to tell you guys about the next Producers Circle meeting. The next Producers Circle meeting is going to be on Thursday, March 15th, I'm sorry. Going to be Thursday, March 15th in the annex. It starts at 6:30 p.m. The Producer Circle has had a restructure to its agenda. Front and center in the Producer Circle is, what are you working on? What projects are you working on? We'll also have more staff in the Producer Circle to answer questions, have solutions, different stuff like that. The Producer Circle is where we get a lot of our ideas and our feedback from producers. So it's a really great place to come and get involved with OpenSignal. And then, of course, my email. If you have any questions you didn't want to ask during this thing, or you go home and you think of something, please email me right away, marina@opensignalpdx.org. So state law defines a member as someone who can vote on the board at nonprofits. KBU does this. Unions do this, they do. How can OpenSignal, Portland Community Media, avoid this law? So it's the way that your organization is structured. If you legally structure your organization as a membership organization, then members do have a voting right on the board. But, I mean, how many of us are members of OPB? And I don't get to vote on their board. So that's, you can be an organization that is not a membership organization with a membership. And that is what we would be. And having worked many years in the unions and been a part of union board elections, I just really recommend that we do not tie our members to a voting stake in the day-to-day running of an organization. From my own experience, it never makes anyone happy. So, without disparaging my union brothers and sisters, I will say that. Any more questions? Questions online? No? Well, we're done with the community presentation. I'm going to be here, of course, so everybody can talk to me or any of the staff afterwards. Please email me. Email me if you have any questions or concerns at all. The whole reason that we did this thing is for you guys. So, yeah, thanks.